Imagine waking up one morning and suddenly realizing you're not really in control of your own life. The choices you make, the fears that hold you back, even how you react to people. What if none of it was truly your decision? Sounds unsettling, right? But according to Carl Jung, deep inside each of us, there's a hidden force at work. It operates quietly, behind the scenes, shaping our thoughts, our actions, and even who we think we are without us even noticing. Jung called this hidden force the shadow self. It's the part of you that you push away, the emotions you refuse to feel, the thoughts you pretend don't exist. But here's the twist. Just because you ignore this side of yourself doesn't mean it goes away. In fact, the less you acknowledge it, the more control it has over you. Jung famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So, the big question is, are you really in charge of your life, or is your shadow self pulling the strings behind the curtain? By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what the shadow self is. More importantly, you'll learn how to confront it before it completely takes over your life. Have you ever reacted to something and later thought, why did I do that? Maybe you got irrationally angry at someone, felt a sudden wave of jealousy, or sabotaged a great opportunity without knowing why. Carl Jung believed these kinds of unconscious reactions come straight from your shadow self, the hidden part of your mind that holds everything you've been conditioned to ignore. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But what does that really mean? Your shadow self is made up of all those emotions, desires, and thoughts that society, your family, or even you yourself have rejected. Maybe as a kid, you were told things like, don't be selfish, nice people don't get angry, or you shouldn't want too much. So what did you do? You pushed those feelings down, pretending they weren't there. Here's the problem, ignoring your shadow doesn't make it disappear. Instead, it hides beneath the surface, quietly influencing your choices without you even realizing it. It makes you judge others for things you secretly see in yourself. It causes you to self-sabotage when success feels uncomfortable. It creates fears and insecurities that seem to come out of nowhere. And the worst part, most people never even realize this is happening. But here's a truth that might surprise you. Your shadow self isn't your enemy. It's a part of you. And until you face it, it will keep controlling your life from behind the scenes. So how do you confront your shadow? How do you take back control? The first step is understanding what it really isn't. That's exactly what we're diving into right now. Carl Jung's shadow self isn't just some abstract idea. It's a hidden force shaping your thoughts, your actions, and your relationships. Every single day, think of your mind like an iceberg. The part you see above the water, that's your conscious self. It's the version of you that you show to the world. But underneath the surface lies something much bigger, much more powerful. The part you've spent your whole life trying to ignore. That's your shadow self. But where does this shadow come from? From the moment you were born, you were taught what's acceptable and what's not. As a child, if you cried too much, you were told to stop being weak. If you got angry, you were scolded because good kids don't act like that. If you spoke up too much, you were labeled arrogant or selfish. So what did you do? You pushed those parts of yourself down. You learned to suppress the emotions, desires, and instincts that didn't fit society's mold of who you should be. That's how your shadow self was formed. But here's the catch, what you suppress doesn't disappear. It just moves into the unconscious, where it waits. And one day, when you least expect it, it comes back controlling you from behind the scenes. Ignoring your shadow doesn't make you a better person. Instead, it makes you someone ruled by emotions you don't understand. Here's how your shadow controls your life without you even knowing it. Projection. This is when you see your own flaws in other people. For example, if you were taught that anger is bad, you might get irritated by people who express their emotions freely. Or if you secretly wish you had more confidence, you might resent people who stand out. The things we judge most harshly in others are often the things we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. Self-sabotage. Have you ever gotten a great opportunity and then somehow messed it up? Or rejected love even though it's what you wanted? Maybe you procrastinated on something important even when you knew it was hurting you. That's your shadow keeping you trapped. Uncontrollable emotional reactions. Ever snapped at someone over something small? Felt irrational jealousy? Had a deep fear of failure even when things were going well? That's not just your personality, your shadow taking over, And here's the scariest part. Most people never realize this is happening. This isn't just psychology, it's been happening for centuries. Take Socrates, for example. He was sentenced to death simply for asking too many questions. His ideas forced people to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. Instead of facing those truths, they silenced him. Jung believed the shadow reveals itself in our dreams, fears, and relationships. If you've ever had a recurring nightmare or an unexplained fear, your shadow might be trying to send you a message. Jung warned that the more we suppress our true nature, the more we risk self-destruction. He called this the will to power, the idea that when we deny parts of ourselves, they eventually explode out in destructive ways. Your shadow isn't evil, it's just a part of you that's been ignored for too long. The more you suppress it, the stronger it gets. The more you fear it, the more it controls you. So, what's the way out? How do you take back control? The answer lies in something Jung called shadow work. So now that you know what the shadow self is, and how it quietly controls so much of your life, the next question is, how do you take back control? How do you stop this hidden force from running the show behind your back? Carl Jung believed that the answer lies in something called shadow work. But before we jump into what that means, let me clear up a common misconception. Shadow work isn't about trying to destroy or get rid of your shadow. It's not about eliminating your fears, anger, or insecurities. Instead, it's about understanding your shadow, accepting it, and integrating it into your conscious self. Think of your shadow not as a demon to be exorcised, but as an untamed part of you that needs to be recognized and embraced. Imagine your mind like a house. The parts of yourself you don't want to deal with, you lock them in the basement and throw away the key, hoping they'll just disappear. But the truth is, the more you suppress those parts, the stronger they get. Eventually, they'll force their way out, often in ways you don't expect or want. This is why shadow work is so powerful. It's the process of unlocking that basement door and facing what you've been avoiding. So, how do you start? One of the first steps is to pay attention to your triggers. Have you ever met someone who instantly annoys you, for no clear reason? Maybe you despise arrogance in others, but deep down, you crave the confidence to speak your mind. Or maybe, you can't stand selfish people, but you were raised to always put others first, even at your own expense. Jung believed that these triggers reveal the parts of ourselves we've been taught to suppress. This is called projection, when we see in others what we refuse to see in ourselves. For example, if someone's ambition irritates you, it might be because you were taught that wanting success is selfish. If you constantly judge others for laziness, maybe you were raised to always be productive and never allow yourself to rest. If someone's confidence bothers you, it could be because you were told to stay quiet and avoid attention. So here's a simple exercise to begin identifying your shadow. Start noticing what makes you angry, jealous, or uncomfortable. Instead of judging others, ask yourself, what does this reaction say about me? Look for patterns. Are the people you dislike similar in some way? The uncomfortable truth is that the things we hate most in others are often the things we've buried deep inside ourselves. Until you recognize this pattern, your shadow will keep controlling your emotions without you even realizing it. Another powerful tool is shadow journaling. This is where you write down your raw, unfiltered thoughts, the ones you'd never admit out loud, the ones that scare or embarrass you. Here's how to do it. Find a quiet place where no one will see what you write. Ask yourself, what emotions am I suppressing? Then write down every dark, ugly, or uncomfortable thought that comes up. Don't censor yourself. Let yourself feel these emotions instead of pushing them away. You might uncover resentment you've buried for years, jealousy disguised as indifference, or fears that secretly influence every decision you make. Remember, your shadow isn't evil. It's just the part of you that was never accepted. The more you listen to it, acknowledge it, and understand it, the less control it has over you. Most people try to fight their shadow. They say things like, I need to stop being angry, or I need to get rid of my fears. But Jung taught that true power doesn't come from rejection, it comes from integration. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's a part of you. And like any abandoned child, all it wants is to be acknowledged. Think of it this way. If you ignore your shadow, it will control you. If you fight your shadow, it will fight back. But if you accept your shadow, you can finally take back your power. So, how do you integrate your shadow? When an emotion arises, don't suppress it. Instead of pushing anger away, Ask yourself, why do I feel this? Instead of denying jealousy, ask, what does this say about what I truly want? Talk to your shadow as if it were a separate part of you. Say, I see you, I accept you, but you do not control me. This simple act shifts power from your unconscious to your conscious mind. Use your shadow's energy as fuel. If your shadow holds anger, turn it into strength. If it holds insecurity, turn it into self-awareness. If it holds fear, turn it into courage. Because here's the secret. The moment you stop fearing your shadow, it loses its power over you. Shadow work isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming whole. The truth is, you are not just your strengths. You are not just your light. You are also your darkness. And once you embrace that, you will finally be free. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most people spend their lives feeling stuck repeating the same mistakes, reacting in the same destructive ways, sabotaging their own success. They call it bad luck. They say, this is just how I am. But the truth is, it's not fate. It's not luck. It's their shadow controlling them from the depths of their mind. Now you have a choice. You can ignore your shadow, pretend it doesn't exist, and let it control you in ways you don't understand. Or you can face it, integrate it, and use it as a source of strength. The more you suppress your darkness, the more it controls you. But the more you accept it, the freer you become. Because here's the truth. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your key to self-awareness, confidence, and transformation. Now that you've got a solid understanding of what the shadow self is and why it has so much influence over your life, let's dive deeper into the process of shadow integration, the key to truly taking back control. Shadow integration is all about bringing those hidden, rejected parts of yourself back into your conscious awareness and making peace with them. It's like inviting the parts of you that you locked away in the basement to come upstairs and join the family. Imagine this. You get angry when you see someone lying and think, I would never lie like that. But through shadow integration, you come to realize, wait a minute, I lie sometimes too, even if it's just little white lies or lying to myself. Once you accept this, you stop reacting with anger when you see others lie. You see it clearly, without judgment or emotional charge. Each time you confront and accept a part of your shadow, you become less fragmented. You feel less anxious, less tense inside. Your personality starts to grow and develop in a more balanced, authentic way. But here's the catch. Integrating your shadow isn't a quick fix. It takes time, patience, and a lot of honest self-reflection. It's a process of ego confrontation, challenging the identity you've built about yourself over the years. Your ego, or conscious self-identity, is like a fortress. It was formed through years of conditioning, repetition, and subconscious programming. It's formidable because it wants to protect the version of you that you're comfortable with. So when you start peeling back the layers and facing your shadow, the ego often resists. You might find yourself thinking, no, I'm not like that, or that can't be true. This resistance is natural. It's your ego's way of trying to keep things as they are. But if you push against this resistance too hard or too fast, you could end up in an internal war with yourself, which only makes things worse. The key is to be patient and sincere with yourself. Slowly, bit by bit, you chip away at the false self-image you've held onto for so long. This process can be dark and challenging, but it can also be incredibly liberating and grounding. As you continue this work, you'll start to notice internal tensions. Those feelings of discomfort or conflict you didn't fully understand before begin to dissolve. Your identity becomes less rigid and more fluid. You stop clinging so tightly to a fixed idea of who you are. In a way, you're dismantling the ego construct piece by piece, and in doing so, you become more whole. This is why shadow integration is often described as a journey toward wholeness. But how do you actually do this? How do you begin integrating your shadow in practical terms? Carl Jung himself said there's no one-size-fits-all method. It's more like diplomacy or statesmanship, ongoing negotiation with yourself. First, you have to accept that your shadow exists. That part of you made up of impulses, desires, and traits you might find undesirable or uncomfortable is real and part of who you are. Next, you need to become aware of its qualities and intentions. This means paying close attention to your moods, fantasies, and impulses. Meditation can help here because it teaches you to observe your mind without judgment. Journaling is another powerful tool where you write down your thoughts, feelings, and desires to better understand what's going on beneath the surface. By consciously observing these inner experiences, you start to recognize patterns and themes that reveal your shadow's nature. Once you see these parts of yourself clearly, you can begin the long process of negotiation, learning how to accept and integrate them rather than reject or fight them. This isn't about becoming perfect or erasing your flaws. It's about embracing all parts of yourself, the light and the dark, and finding balance. One practical way to start is by observing your reactions to triggers. When you feel irritated, jealous, or defensive, pause and ask yourself, what part of me is this reaction coming from? What am I refusing to see in myself? This kind of self-questioning helps you catch your shadow in action and brings unconscious material into the light. Another method is to consciously dialogue with your shadow. Imagine it as a separate part of you that needs to be heard. You might say, I see you, I accept you, but you don't control me. This simple act of acknowledgement shifts power from unconscious impulses to conscious awareness. And remember, the energy your shadow holds, whether it's anger, fear, or insecurity, can be transformed. Anger can become strength. Fear can become courage. Insecurity can become self-awareness. The moment you stop fearing your shadow, it loses its grip on you. Shadow integration is not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming whole, embracing all aspects of yourself and living authentically. Carl Jung said it best, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people spend their lives trapped in unconscious patterns, calling it bad luck or just how they are. But the truth is, it's their shadow pulling the strings. You have the power to change that. By facing your shadow, integrating it, and making it part of your conscious self, you can finally break free from those hidden chains. You can live a life that's truly yours. So far, we've talked about what the shadow self is, how it influences your life, and why embracing it through shadow work is so important. Now, let's explore some real-life examples and practical strategies to help you on this journey. Let me tell you a story about Michael. Michael was known as the nice guy, polite, agreeable, always putting others first. Whenever conflict came up, he'd step back. When someone took credit for his work, he'd just brush it off. People admired him for his kindness, but what they didn't see was the storm brewing inside him. Deep down, Michael felt resentment. He felt invisible. He watched selfish, aggressive people get ahead while he stayed stuck, always overlooked. But he never admitted this to himself. From a young age, he was taught that anger was bad, that standing up for himself was selfish, and that being ambitious was arrogant. So every time frustration bubbled up, he buried it. Every time jealousy crept in, he pushed it away. Every time he wanted to speak up, he stayed silent. Michael thought he was being a better person by suppressing these feelings, but in reality, his shadow self was growing stronger beneath the surface. One day at work, Michael's boss unfairly blamed him for a mistake. Normally, Michael would have smiled, nodded, and apologized, just like always. But this time, something inside him snapped. Before he knew it, he lashed out. Why do I always get treated like this? I work harder than anyone here, and yet I'm the one who gets blamed. I'm done. The entire office went silent. His co-workers looked shocked. Even his boss seemed taken aback. Michael was shaking, his heart racing. He had never spoken like that before. Instead of arguing, his boss simply asked, "Where did that come from?" In that moment, Michael realized this wasn't just about today or his job. It was years of suppressed emotions finally breaking free. This was his shadow self taking control. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He replayed the moment over and over in his head. Where did that come from? And then it hit him. This anger, this frustration, this desire to be seen and heard, it had been there all along. He had spent his whole life pretending it didn't exist, but the more he buried it, the stronger it became. And today, it exploded. Michael's story isn't unique. How many times have you felt a sudden, intense emotion and thought, "Why did I act like that?" How often have you looked at someone and felt irritated for no clear reason, or sabotaged yourself just when things were going well? That's your shadow self pulling the strings. But here's the good news. Once you see your shadow, you can start to work with it instead of against it. Now, let's talk about some practical steps you can take to begin this process of shadow work and integration. Step 1. Identify your triggers. Remember how we talked about projection? The parts of ourselves we refuse to see often show up as intense reactions to others. Start paying attention to moments when you feel angry, jealous, or uncomfortable. Instead of immediately judging the other person, pause and ask yourself, what is this reaction telling me about myself? For example, if you find yourself annoyed by someone's arrogance, ask, do I secretly crave more confidence? Was I taught that wanting confidence is bad? Write down your triggers and the feelings they bring up. Over time, you'll start to see patterns that reveal your shadow's hidden parts. Step 2. Practice shadow journaling. Set aside time each day or week to write openly and honestly about your thoughts and feelings, especially the uncomfortable ones. Don't censor yourself. Write about your fears, jealousies, resentments, and desires. Let yourself explore the parts of you that you usually hide. This process helps bring unconscious material into your conscious awareness, making it easier to understand and integrate. Step 3. Dialogue with your shadow. Try having a conversation with your shadow, as if it were a separate part of you. You might say, I see you. I know you're angry, scared, or jealous. I accept you, but you don't control me. This simple acknowledgement can shift the power dynamic, giving you more control over your emotions and reactions. Step 4. Transform shadow energy. The energy your shadow holds, whether it's anger, fear, or insecurity, can be transformed into something positive. For example, anger can become motivation and strength. Fear can become courage and resilience. Insecurity can become self-awareness and growth. When you stop fearing your shadow, it loses its power over you. Step 5. Be patient and compassionate. Shadow work is not easy. It's a lifelong journey filled with ups and downs. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small victories. And remember, the goal isn't to become perfect, it's to become whole. By embracing your shadow, you're not only freeing yourself from unconscious control, you're opening the door to deeper self-awareness, confidence, and transformation. So, what part of yourself have you been avoiding? What is your shadow trying to tell you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences and questions. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into psychology, philosophy, and the hidden forces shaping our minds. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with some final thoughts on the incredible power of understanding and embracing your shadow self. Remember, your shadow isn't some dark, evil force lurking inside you. It's simply the parts of yourself that you've pushed away, those feelings, desires, and thoughts you were told to hide or reject. And the truth is, the more you suppress these parts, the more they control you from the shadows. But when you bring your shadow into the light, when you acknowledge and integrate it, something amazing happens. You regain control over your life. You stop being a puppet to unconscious fears and impulses. Instead, you become the conscious author of your story. This journey isn't about perfection or erasing your flaws. It's about becoming whole, embracing both your light and your darkness. Because you are not just your strengths, your achievements, or your best moments. You are also your struggles, your fears, and your imperfections. And that's what makes you human. Carl Jung's words ring truer than ever. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people live their entire lives unaware of their shadow, repeating the same patterns, feeling stuck, and blaming fate or bad luck. But now, you have a choice. You can ignore your shadow and let it control you in ways you don't understand, or you can face it, accept it, and use it as a source of strength and transformation. The more you accept your shadow, the freer you become. So, I want to ask you again, what part of yourself have you been avoiding? What messages is your shadow trying to send you? If you're ready to start this journey, begin with small steps. Notice your triggers. Try shadow journaling. Have honest conversations with yourself. It won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. And remember, you're not alone. This is a path many have walked before you, and many will walk after. If this video resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Together, we can explore these hidden parts of ourselves and grow into more authentic, empowered people. Thank you for watching. I'm excited to continue this journey with you. Until next time, take care of your mind, embrace your whole self, and keep growing.